Well, good afternoon, my avid readers. How are you this afternoon on August 11th, 2020? I hope that you are staying cool in your homes and not outside sweating. Well, you may be sweating, so I don't know. Just stay cool, hydrate yourself. And as always, keep reading, keep reading. Today I am reviewing a book called Eyes to My Soul by Tyrone Powers. This is a book that I picked up last month after I completed our book club book. I wanted to read something else. And this particular book caught my attention because it is giving us insight from the perspective of a person who worked for the police department. He was a state trooper and he was an FBI agent. So he's given us his take on institutional racism. So in this current climate of police brutality, protests happening all over the world, it was good to get insight from a person who actually is working for different entities that are supposed to serve the community, right? So in this book, Mr. Powers, he gives us some insight into his injustices that were placed upon him when he was in the academy for both the troopers, the state troopers, and as well as the FBI agents. But through it all, even though it was hard and he had flack from his family because his family sort of supported him, his mother would always support him, but his brothers, they wanted him to be a teacher because they were from Baltimore, and in their community that they saw how the police department treated the community of color, and it wasn't so great. So they were trying to figure out, why are you trying to work for the man? And that's how they looked at it, as the police officer or the man. But what he wanted to do, he wanted to change that. So he wanted to be from the community, become a police officer, and serve the community. That's what he wanted. But they looked at it as, you're going to work for the man and just lock your brothers and sisters up. Why would you want to do that? But they didn't see that he wanted to come in and change things. So he had a little tug of war between family and what he wanted. But he went ahead and he joined the state troopers, and he became an FBI agent after a while. After he couldn't take the injustices of the state troopers, he moved and he changed and he went to be an FBI agent because he was very intelligent. And that was one of the things that was knocking him in both professions. The people in front of him, above him, his bosses, they didn't like that he was so smart and intelligent. They thought that he was trying to outdo them, and that was part of the injustices that was going on. And they would harass him all the time. They would harass his family. And it was one instance that he showed us when he went from trooper to FBI agent, where one of his brothers died, and he was still fighting the FBI inside. He was just fighting he was standing up for himself the whole time. And he was trying to get other people inside with him to stand with him, but they wouldn't, because a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid to stand up because of backlash. We never know what may happen. Sometimes officers think, well, they may set me up, or they may do harm to my family, or I'll never move up, because of my complaint. So sometimes we stay comfortable because either we have made it up and we don't want to rock the boat, or we may be afraid. Those who are in those positions may be afraid. But he still decided that he was going to fight, because he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was doing selfless acts, because whatever he wanted to do, other people were going to benefit from. So he wasn't just trying to stand up for himself and make a name for himself. And he was also labeled a troublemaker, but he was standing up for what was right, because things were not equal inside either one of those entities. And so, like I was saying earlier, there was one instance where he shared with us where one of his brothers was dead and buried. The FBI sent flowers to the home, yet they raided their house looking for that dead brother, to let Mr. Powers know, look, we need you to stop with all this complaining and trying to get this changed and get that changed. And that's when he realized, okay, enough is enough. And he still stayed for a little bit after that, but he couldn't believe that, wait a minute, you sent flowers to my mom's home. You know my brother's dead. How dare you do that? How dare you? But they was just letting him know, keep on. Keep it up. And we're going to do more than that to you. We're going to make you quit. We're going to make you quit. So he finally left. After some time, he got tired of all the injustices. He left on his own terms, though. He fought enough. He was a good FBI agent. He was a good trooper. There was never anything negative against him on the books as that's concerned. But he also let us know that when you are fighting, sometimes it's not just you're fighting your boss. You're fighting maybe 2 or 3 bosses ahead of you who may not want change to happen because they have their own biases and they like the status quo the way it is. And they don't want you coming in, being a troublemaker, and changing things. But through it all, Mr. Powers still decided to fight. He fought until he got tired enough and he left. And when you look him up now, you can see that he is a professor. So he's teaching now. And this is not a new book. This book has been written like a few years now, but it still relates to what's happening now. And we could take some of the things that he wrote in there and see what's happening and relate. And what I do like about this book, what I did like about the book, was that anything that he went through, any complaints, that is public knowledge. There's some things where he blacked out in the book where for national security, I understand you have to black out certain things. But he was able to share a lot of the things he was fighting for in the back of the book. He also gave you research information. So if he talked about a certain thing that happened in his history, he gave you more research where you can go and look it up yourself. And I said, wow, that's kind of cool. Because it wasn't that, oh, this is my opinion. This is what I think happened. I just want to bash the state troopers. I just want to bash the FBI. No, this was things that happened. This was things that actually happened to me. And these are things that were happening in the world. And he even had a mentor who let him know, because he was a little high up and he was in the academy. He said, look, young brother, I understand what you're trying to do, but you got to pace yourself, because when you're in the academy, we need you to graduate. That's the thing. They were trying to knock all those before they got to graduation day, so we can have less of you in here. So he was letting him know, like, understand what's going on, know the rules, know how to work it, and then get your needs met, and then fight your cause. But make sure you get over certain humps, because they're trying to knock you before you can cross the finish line. And that's what he was trying to tell you. He said, I got your back. I understand. I've been through my own, but I paced myself. And that's why I moved up the ladder the way I needed to, so that I could make a difference and that I could help you out along the way. And not just you, but other young brothers and sisters that look like you, to help you up, help you climb up, and do it the right way, so that they can't use any technicality against you. And that's what one of his mentors in the book was showing him. So that was good that he had someone that he could relate to, talk to, seek out when things got really tough for him. And there were some tough days for him. So this was a good book and a good insight on what may be happening to some officers and how they may be treated, whether it's in the past or even currently, what's going on and their take. So it would be nice to hear more stories from men and women in these different entities, whether they regular police or local police officers, state troopers, or FBI agents, or any field that deals with the police and protecting and serving the community, to hear what they are going through, because institutional racism is everywhere. So it would be nice to hear more stories and see more people from the inside standing up. All right, so as I always say, happy reading.